we're going to take a look at, rather, the lead up to JFK's assassinations and his dealings with the Zionist group that he was trying to get to register under FARA. Look at this website, okay? This website, and we don't have a top of this. I want to know, Skylar, if you don't mind actually showing the Israel Lobby Archive. Okay, so I'm going to take you through just a timeline, and you can actually click and see these documents. These are documents that are published publicly. They all actually exist. And I'm going to take you through the relevant things leading up to the year of the communications that his Department of Justice, JFK's Department of Justice, had with the AZC saying, hey, you need to register as a foreign agent. So we'll go back a year before his assassination on October 31st, 1962. You can see that the Assistant Attorney General and the Director of Internal Security, who was J. Walter Yeagley, notifies Attorney General R.F. Kennedy that we are soliciting next week the registration of the American Zionist Council under the Foreign Agents Registration Act. You may be aware that the American Zionist Council is composed of representatives of the various Zionist organizations in the United States, including the Zionist Organization of America. Excuse me. So there were a bunch of different organizations. They were all lobbying on behalf of Israel. And they were like, we're going to obviously pursue this. On November 21st, 1962, this is again like almost exactly a year before he gets assassinated, the Department of Justice ordered them, the AZC, to register under FARA. And there was a receipt of such funds from the American section of the Jewish Agency for Israel, constitutes the council. And essentially they were like, you absolutely must register. Your request is happening. And Sky, I don't know if you've actually pulled any of these documents in, but if not, it's okay. We'll keep going down the timeline. Now, on December 6th of that same year, the president of AZC was a guy named Rabbi Irving Miller, and he responded to the Department of Justice, and he wrote this: the request for registration contained in your letter raises many questions of fact and of relationships, which first must be resolved by us before compliance can be made. Therefore, it is requested that you be good enough to grant us a delay of 120 days. Immediately already stunning, okay? The Department of Justice is saying to you in a letter, you need to register as a foreign agent, and you have the rabbi who's leading this group who says, your request is a little, we're gonna need some time actually to chew over that request, and you'll understand we need 120 days, okay? So within that 120-day time frame, they decided to officially incorporate AIPAC. On January 2nd, 1963, a man named Isaiah Kennan incorporated AIPAC instead. And then the AZC Council went back to the DOJ and it essentially said, like, you know, we're not ready actually to register, but now we have a new organization. It's known as AIPAC. And if you follow along on this timeline, so then you start to see that he incorporates, that's on January 2nd, 1963, Isaiah incorporates the American Israel Public Affairs, like I said, AIPAC committee in Washington, D.C. And then the day after, on January 24th, 1963, a couple of weeks after pardon, the DOJ draft file memo, they essentially say that they met with the AZC head counsel and he had advised his client to just discontinue the previous agency as AZC. And they were like, we hope that that resolves the issue. Like, basically, we are a new incorporated AIPAC and that should resolve the issue. And essentially the DOJ said, no, that actually doesn't resolve the issue. And we're still going to need you to register, essentially saying, we need your expenditures. We need to know who's funding you guys, where this money is coming from. And we're not going to change our opinion on that. And they were still fighting him. They still were fighting and going, we're not going to give that to you whatsoever. What you have taking place there on January 25th, 1963, is you start to see these articles that start building in the press. And so they started creating a peer pressure campaign, essentially saying, and this is like a direct quote from the Wall Street Journal, that if they had gone through with this, if they kept demanding for the AZC to have to reveal to them their expenditures and who was funding them, that Jewish opinion would be bad for the DOJ, like that the American Jewish opinion was going to be bad, so they shouldn't go through with this. This was actually happening. And incredibly, even Donald Rumsfeld, who was a congressman at that time, wrote to the DOJ and said, I'm concerned that if you keep pushing this matter, then the Jewish Zionist opinion is going to transform in America. absolutely wild. Like, this is the Department of Justice telling you to register, and now you are essentially lobbying politicians and you're lobbying journalists to start writing these articles and to essentially seed into the American mind and to seed into the political mind that this request is inappropriate. It's entirely inappropriate because how dare you ask us to register? That doesn't make any sense. Don't you understand that we're Jewish and this isn't going to look good for you? That you can literally go to this website and look through the filings and look through the newspaper clippings, and this is the reality. There was a peer pressure campaign not unlike what we see today. When I speak about AIPAC and I speak about these journalists who act like hitmen, and if you don't acquiesce to whatever it is the state of Israel wants, they are out there calling you Hitler, anti-Semitic. They've got all of these influencers on an orbit online who we can assume are receiving money in some capacity, but we'll never know because AIPAC is now a 501c3. And